Alright, well, today I got into Uber and found out that my driver has a YouTube channel. So
Okay.
he asked me if I wanted to have my own little segment. A little nervous, but I said yes.
Solid.
So, I guess today we're going to talk about the pandemic. I mean, here, where we are in Kitchener-Waterloo area, you know, it's a little crazy because everything seemed like it was going back to normal, and then now we're getting hit with a second wave, and everything's going to start closing down again. Now, I'm a little puzzled as to how we are going to survive, because, like, Trudeau had to serve for, like, the people, so they had income while they were off work. CERB ended, and people were then shifted to, like EI. How are people going to keep surviving if everything's going to shut down again? I mean, some people just went back to work. Some people are at work. Where's this money going to keep coming from? The CERB had to end because of the money, and people have to now pull their EI, which some people probably don't want to do. I know I wouldn't want to. That's why I went back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. And a lot of people don't even have it, right?
No, honestly, some people who, like, you know, they were on, like, OW or don't even have an income, who can't even claim CERB or are looking for work. And, you know, it's ridiculous because how are people going to survive?
Yeah, that was, like, one of the weirder things I noticed was, like, if you didn't have a whole lot of employment before, you don't get CERB now.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't, because, like, you're putting people who were out of work before this pandemic in a situation where now they have to go hunt for work in a time where there's less jobs even for the people who had jobs, right?
Oh, exactly. Like, before they stood a chance of finding a job. Now they don't stand a chance at all. And, you know, it's unfortunate because they were probably the people who should have received CERB only.
Right.
Right? Because they didn't have any income whatsoever.
Right.
In order to get CERB, you had to have, like, eligibility requirements. You had to make under a certain amount in order to get the CERB.
That's right.
Well, what about the people that didn't made $0?
Yeah.
What are they getting?
And if anything, like, the people who were working before, I would think probably have some sort of savings somewhere,
yeah,
right?
They have a safety net.
They have a safety net of some sort, right? Whereas the people who didn't have jobs are now even more screwed than before, I guess, right? So, given this, like, what would you think of, like, a universal basic income? Have you heard of that term before, UBI?
No, I haven't.
So, I don't know how closely we were following the U.S. elections, but there was this candidate called Andrew Yang. And his big push, this was way before the pandemic had started. So this was just his main idea, was that we do this thing called the UBI, Universal Basic Income, and he wanted to just basically give $1,000 check to every person, without exception, in the States, every month. And, there were people who were for it, people who were against it, and, I don't know, well, his candidacy kind of died for different reasons. But yeah, that was his one, like, big idea, and it actually has gained some traction, even though he's out of the picture. So that's kind of like what CERB was, in a sense, right? But it was just limited to a certain number of people for a certain time period. But the question is, like, if the government is capable of handing out this money like this, then they're probably capable of handing it out all the time. If needed, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, say $1,000 or something more or less or whatever, do you think it would make any sense to give this out to people permanently, to everyone? Or not?
Yes and no. I mean, there are probably some people who, I guess it would be, I don't know, I would hope it would be based on your income. Like, obviously, if you already make more than enough to survive, then really, why should you? Because there are people who are barely surviving.
Right. But then it goes back into the whole realm of eligibility, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, who is eligible, who's not, and who are we gonna scum over?
Well, in order to, like, help out the people who aren't able to, not necessarily help themselves, but, like, don't have the means to do so.
Right.
I guess it would be a good idea. And then hopefully,
But that would kind of, sorry to interrupt, but that would kind of be like welfare in a sense, right? People who really need the money would be getting it. Whereas, like, if you have a universal basic income, regardless of what you make, say you have a job or, you don't, whatever it is, you get the money anyway. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? I think that's perhaps unfair to people who are already making quite a bit?
I guess so. I guess I don't know. If everyone were to get it, I guess it would just make it fair.
Yeah, well,
Right.
and you could totally argue that the people who make more probably would, like, this would be taxed somewhere to pay for this, right?
Yeah.
So the people who pay more maybe would be taxed at a higher rate and be returned that $1,000. I don't know how much sense that makes, but maybe you could have them pay more into this program than other people do, which is fair and unfair at the same time, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I think it would be a good idea. I don't know. The way I see it in my mind is like equality. If everyone were to see the same amount, then it just shows you that we're all the same. It doesn't matter, you know, your skin color or how tall you are.
Right.
But everyone would just receive. Would you say it was universal?
Universal basic income.
Basic
Yeah.
income.
I think they actually tried it out in a couple cities in Canada as well. I don't know how that went down, but I know that they have tried this out in a few places, including Canada. And again, it doesn't look like it's like totally unmanageable, right? Like, granted, it would be a lot of money. Like, even if you do the $1,000 a month times, like, say, population has 35 million or something,
Yeah.
maybe minus kids. I don't know if you would give it to kids or not. But there's an argument to be made there too, right?
Yeah. And then there's yet another requirement. So then, is there, like, you have to be a certain age.
But the question is, like, should you? Like kids cost a lot of money, man. Do they not, right?
Yeah.
Some would argue it costs more money to you know, have a kid live than an adult, right?
Honestly, yeah.
Right?
Kids always
Adults
grow
don't
up.
have, you know, school fees. They don't have, you know, toys or whatever they need. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy being an adult. If you feed them, they're basically alive and ticking, working for the machine. But kids need a little bit more, right? To like, I don't have kids, but I've heard diapers cost a lot of money. So
I don't have kids either, but like a lot of my friends do, and I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, you just bought her shoes. Oh yeah, but she doesn't fit them anymore, so you just bought her new shoes,
Yeah.
new clothes. I'm like, jeez, why don't you just buy big clothes and hope one day she just fits into them?
yeah, so you can see how, like, there
It
is definitely an
costs.
argument to be made that, like, kids could receive it too, even though they wouldn't be paying into it. But, you know, they pay into it eventually, right? Unless, you know, they die. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting thought, right?
Yes, it is. And I learned something new.
You learn something new. So, anything else?
No, just, you know, hope everyone stays safe. Keep your 6-foot distance. Hopefully this pandemic has a resolution soon, because we're already going into a second wave.
Yeah.
Hopefully there aren't many more waves to follow it.
Well, the whole idea was to, like, flatten the curve, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, they wanted to, like, I guess, prep for what is to come. So I think they kind of did that, right? Like, we're no longer short on toilet paper.
That was
So,
brutal.
Yeah, that's a
I was
good
like,
sign,
some
right?
of my guys at work, they were like stocking up on like hand
Yeah.
sanitizer and toilet paper. I'm like, you guys are crazy. And then before I know it, there's no toilet paper or hand sanitizer to be found
Yep,
anywhere.
it's all gone.
I'm just like, oh my god. I was just shocked at how fast it went.
Yeah, but now you go into the stores and they have hand sanitizer literally everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Capitalism answers.